I think it's kind of funny that you can hear the roosters. I've got two roosters, and you can hear them out there crowing. I could go out there and find out what's going on. Usually if the two of them get separated, they crow. Well, anyway, let it just be background music. All right, moving on. The early Christians. See, this is so timely. The early Christians. If you get talking about modern day Christianity, it gets pretty complicated. But the early Christians, usually it's all in agreement. The New Testament is the book that separates them from all the other religions. I can't say the Bible because the Old Testament is largely a Jewish book. But the New Testament, there is the difference. And the New Testament, you can think of it as the second half of the Bible if you want. There are 4 Gospels. They're called the Gospels. Good spiel. Good spiel is the etymology of that, the good news. Named after their writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Kids love to rattle this off. Now, I've starred Matthew and I've starred Luke because those are the two that have the Christmas story in them. Now, there's much more. I will come back to this. I'm not going to leave it with just this, but Christmas is upon us. After those 4 Gospels comes Acts of the Apostles. I think it's called the Epistles of Paul. Epistles are letters. Paul, I would say, is the most famous letter writer of all time. And then the last book is Revelation. Well, anyway, the Christmas story, you'll find it only in... They're the only 2 sources of the Christmas story. And the other 2 Gospels do not mention it. And Luke is the one that's usually used. And all over the Christian world, people will be hearing this read. Well, in a nutshell, here's how it goes. And I love to get this out of the students to see how well they know it. I'll start by saying, what about Messiah? What's that mean? Well, the Jews were waiting for a Messiah. There was an idea, Messiah, a savior, someone that was going to save the nation. And the Jews imagined that he would come as a military leader. So they were waiting for a Messiah. Well, the angel Gabriel, I'll say, what's he have to do with the story? A lot of times kids don't know the details. Well, according to the story, the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary. She was not yet married. She was betrothed. She was engaged to be married, but she was not yet married. And the angel told her she was going to have a baby. And it was going to be the Messiah. That's called the Revelation. Now, Mary's words to that are known as the Magnificat, been set to music by Vivaldi, by Bach. What does a young girl say when she finds out that she's going to be the mother of the Messiah? My soul magnifies the Lord, I think is the way it starts, Magnificat. Anyway, Joseph is the one she's engaged to be married to. He could have by rights had her stoned to death outside the city because she was pregnant. They were not yet married. But he was told, I think in a dream, that this is okay and he should let that go. Well, there's the first census. The Romans at this point controlled the known world, and what was his name? I don't know why I can't think of his name right now. But the Roman emperor at the time decided, Augustus Caesar, decided that he wanted to have everybody counted and taxed. And so they had to go to their hometowns to do this. Well, that involved a journey from Nazareth. Jesus is known as Jesus of Nazareth. If somebody does not want to call him Jesus Christ, they can say Jesus of Nazareth. But he had to travel to Bethlehem, also known as the city of David. Joseph was a descendant of David, and he has to make that journey. Well, and traditionally they made it on the donkey. Here's Mary, 9 months pregnant and having to travel on a donkey. They get there. I don't have this in quite the best of order. There's no place at the inn. I guess inn didn't have to be capitalized. The inn was full. The hotel, a lot of times kids don't even know what an inn is. Well, it's a hotel. People traveling. It was full. So they got to stay in the stable. They had, at least there was a roof over their heads back in the stable. And there, in a manger, which, a lot of times I'll ask kids, well, what is a manger anyway? And around here, though, usually no, because all over Bedford County there are mangers. A barn will have a manger. It's the place you put the hay to feed the cows. Now, usually they're concrete now. Be a cold place for a baby to lay. Be cold anyway, probably, but it's always thought of as wooden. surrounded by animals. Well, you know, part of this is loaded with tradition. It's loaded with tradition, but part of the whole image is that animals are all around, and there is the baby Jesus in that manger. It's called a creche when you have one of those scenes with the animals around. I actually think it was St. Francis of Assisi. Somehow, in my mind, he's the one that started that tradition of doing that. This is all usually lumped together, and I maybe should have written down Epiphany, because in the scene there's also this matter of the Star of Bethlehem, that three wise men, or three kings, we three kings of Orient are, noticed that it was different, this star, and they're known as the Magi. Sometimes our word magic comes from them. Epiphany is spelled, I think I can spell it. Epiphany is a word that means a sudden awakening, a sudden realization. And it should by rights be later, considerably later than that night that the baby was born. But they follow it. They believe that there's going to be a king born under that. Here we've got that endangered royal baby theme. Endangered because they go to Herod to get permission, King Herod, get permission to travel in his country. It's a little bit like you can't just go into a country and travel around. Nowadays you need a passport. And the king told the wise men, well, when you find him, tell me where he is, because I'd like to go worship him too. Of course, these wise men, they have gifts, frankincense, gold, and myrrh. A lot of times kids don't know what frankincense is or myrrh is. They're valuable spices and oils. Well, they go and they worship the baby as well. But as I say, this is the Epiphany, and really, to be logical with this, it should be later. Oh, I'm getting this all out of whack here. Back on that night, shepherds out in the fields around Bethlehem noticed that the sky was different. And these herald angels, a herald is somebody who blows a horn or beats a drum and shouts out the news from the king, like an old newspaper. Well, those were these angels acted as heralds, and they announced to the shepherds that the Savior, the Messiah, had been born, and so they go down and worship him as well. Well, Herod has no intention of worshiping him. He wants to kill him, endangered royal baby. The wise men do not go back to Herod. They leave by a different route, and so Herod doesn't know which one that baby is, so he sends his soldiers there, and they kill all the baby boys in that area. They don't get Jesus because Joseph, his father, is warned in a dream, and he takes the Holy Family into Egypt. And there they stay until after King Herod has died. Well, I hope I didn't leave anything major out there. That was kind of fast. But I do like to point out that in this Christmas story, I said nothing about mistletoe or Santa Claus or the Yuletide. All of that has to do with medieval Europe. The original Christmas story, you'll find it right there. All right, I have one more video.